The Manson family murders sent shockwaves through America in 1969. Led by Charles Manson, the group committed a series of brutal killings. The most infamous were the murders of actress Sharon Tate and others at her home. These crimes horrified the nation. They revealed a dark side to the counterculture movement. The Manson family's actions left an indelible mark on society. They remain a chilling reminder of the power of manipulation and the dangers of cult mentality. Manson, obsessed with a coming race war, believed he could spark it through these killings. He dubbed this apocalyptic vision Helter Skelter. His followers, deeply under his sway, carried out his orders with a terrifying zeal. The brutality of the crimes, coupled with the seemingly random choice of victims, shook the nation's sense of security. Manson, with his warped ideology and magnetic personality, preyed on the vulnerabilities of his followers. He offered them a sense of belonging and purpose. In return, they were willing to commit unthinkable acts in his name. The Manson family murders became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the potential for evil to lurk beneath the surface. Charles Manson, the mastermind behind the infamous murders, was a product of a deeply troubled past. Born in 1934, Manson's childhood was marked by neglect and instability. His mother, unable to care for him, drifted in and out of his life. Manson spent his formative years shuttled between relatives and institutions. This lack of stability had a profound impact on young Charles. He craved attention and affection, but his needs were rarely met. This early deprivation fostered a deep-seated sense of anger and resentment. By his teenage years, Manson's life had taken a turn for the worse. He began engaging in petty crime, eventually graduating to more serious offenses. This led to a series of arrests and incarcerations. Prison, instead of rehabilitating him, only solidified his criminal tendencies. Manson's troubled upbringing and constant brushes with the law shaped him into a deeply disturbed individual. Upon his release from prison in 1967, Charles Manson, armed with a charismatic personality and a warped sense of spirituality, began to attract followers. These young people, often from troubled backgrounds, were drawn to Manson's message of peace and free love. They were looking for acceptance and a sense of belonging. Manson provided them with that and more. He established a commune-like atmosphere at Spahn Ranch, a former movie set in California. Here he exerted absolute control over his followers. He used a potent mix of drugs, sex, and psychological manipulation to keep them under his sway. Manson understood the power of group dynamics. He fostered a sense of us versus them mentality, isolating his followers from the outside world. He convinced them that he was a prophet, a messianic figure who held the keys to their salvation. They, in turn, were his chosen ones, destined to inherit the earth after the coming apocalypse. Manson masterfully exploited the vulnerabilities of his followers, turning them into instruments of his will. In the summer of 1969, Charles Manson decided it was time to ignite his apocalyptic vision. He ordered his followers to carry out a series of murders, carefully chosen to incite terror and spark the race war he called Helter Skelter. The first target was the home of actress Sharon Tate and her husband, director Roman Polanski. On the night of August 8th, 4 of Manson's followers, Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Linda Kasabian, drove to the Benedict Canyon home. Armed with knives and a gun, they entered the property. Inside, they brutally murdered Sharon Tate, who was 8 months pregnant, and 4 others, Wojciech Frykowski, Abigail Folger, Jay Sebring, and Stephen Parent. The following night, Manson, dissatisfied with the previous night's work, decided to participate in the next attack. He, along with 6 followers, drove to the Los Feliz home of Leno and Rosemary LaBianca. Inside, they bound the couple and brutally murdered them. The Tate-LaBianca murders shocked the nation with their brutality. Section 5. Justice served, the trial and conviction. The trial of Charles Manson and his followers began in June 1970. It became a media sensation. captivating the nation. The prosecution presented a mountain of evidence linking Manson and his followers to the murders. Eyewitness accounts, fingerprints, and physical evidence tied them to the crime scenes. The prosecution argued that Manson, though not directly involved in the killings, was the mastermind. His hold over his followers was so complete that they willingly carried out his orders. In January 1971, they found Charles Manson, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Leslie Van Houten guilty on all counts, including murder and conspiracy to commit murder. They were sentenced to death, later commuted to life in prison, when California abolished the death penalty. The trial and conviction of Charles Manson and his followers brought a sense of closure to a horrified nation. Justice, though it could not bring back the victims, had been served. Section 6. Manson's enduring legacy, a cultural obsession. Charles Manson, despite dying in prison in 2017, continues to cast a long shadow over American culture. His name has become synonymous with evil, manipulation, and the dark side of the 1960s. The Manson family murders remain a chilling reminder of the dangers of cult mentality and the destructive power of unchecked charisma. The Manson family's story has been the subject of countless books, documentaries, and films. Each attempts to unravel the complexities of the case and understand the motivations behind the murders. The enduring fascination with the Manson family speaks to a morbid curiosity about true crime and a desire to understand the darkest corners of human behavior. References to him and his crimes appear in music, film, and television. Section 7. The Dangers of Charisma, Manson's Manipulation. Charles Manson's ability to manipulate and control his followers is a chilling example of the dangers of charisma. Manson was a master manipulator, skilled at identifying and exploiting the vulnerabilities of others. He offered his followers a sense of belonging, purpose, and love, something many of them desperately craved. Once he had gained their trust, he began to isolate them from the outside world, instilling in them his own warped ideology. He used a combination of fear, intimidation, and love bombing to maintain control. He convinced them that he was a godlike figure, and they, his devoted disciples. The Manson family's story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of blind faith and the importance of critical thinking. Section 8. The Victims, Forever Remembered. In the aftermath of the Manson family murders, it is crucial to remember the victims Sharon Tate, Jay Sebring, Abigail Folger, Wojciech Frykowski, Stephen Parent, Leno LaBianca, and Rosemary LaBianca. These were real people with lives, loves, and dreams. They were brutally and senselessly murdered, their lives cut tragically short. Their families and friends were left to grieve their loss, forever haunted by the horrific nature of their deaths. It is essential to honor their memory by remembering their names and the impact their lives had on those who knew and loved them. Section 9. The Enduring Allure of True Crime. The fascination with the Manson family murders speaks to a deeper need to grapple with the darker aspects of our nature. The shocking brutality and Manson's charismatic yet disturbed personality captivate and horrify audiences decades later. True crime offers a glimpse into the darkest corners of human behavior, confronting us with uncomfortable truths. The Manson case raises questions about evil, persuasion, and the vulnerability of those seeking belonging.